What's going on, Pokemon Go trainers? Welcome to episode 30 of the Lured Up Creator Series, podcast bringing your favorite content creators to talk about their work, process, and the game that brings it all together, Pokemon Go. Lured Up is part of the Pokemon Professor Network. Today is Wednesday, May 4th. May the 4th be with you.
Wow, wow.
And I'm your host, Ken Pescatore. That lightsaber there was Adam Tuttle.
Hey, everyone.
Co-host. Adam, you're here on a creator series.
Yeah, it's been a hot minute.
It's been a hot minute. It's with good reason that you're here. It's because we have our dear personal friend, Chris from the GoCast Podcast on the show. Chris,
aw, snap.
Welcome. How are you, man?
Hello. Welcome to myself as well. No, hey, thanks for having me here.
I'm psyched. I'm
psyched too. We just had you guys on our show as well on GoCast, and that just came out, so it feels like I just talked to you, but I'm not complaining. Not in the least.
No, it's good. It's good times. And we even had 15 minutes of banter just before we hit record. And it's it's really nice because, in this industry and in this space, you meet so many people, and a lot of them, even on the creative side, you become professional, acquaintances and professional colleagues. But,
Chris is a friend.
And Chris is a friend.
Yeah,
so
we're friends.
It's really nice to have dear personal friends in this space that you can talk and confide with, and I consider you a very close friend in this space, so I'm very gracious. I have a lot of gratitude that you're here.
Aww.
And
listen, I'm just grateful that I got to come on and put a goal down.
Yeah,
because it's been a long time since I set a goal for myself, and
put those hands in the cement, man, and
listen,
move along.
I'm 24 days out of the 30. I got 6 more to go.
Nice.
I appreciated your heads up, your update the other day. Thank you.
Yeah,
nice,
no, I
nice.
wanted people to know that I actually have been trying to keep up with it. So
good deal.
Nice. Well, Chris, we've had you on the show before, but the game has grown, the community has grown. There's probably plenty of new people that your voice may be new to. So why don't you take a moment to introduce yourself? Let's talk about your relationship with the Pokemon franchise. We'll start talking about Pokemon Go, and then we'll dig into something that we both hold very dear, and that is the art of podcasting. So how did you get in with Pokemon? Who's your favorite Pokemon? And what's your history?
All right. Well, my history, as far as Pokemon is concerned, is that a wee little lad, Chris, I'm 30. So the Pokemon franchise coming to the States hit me right in that sweet spot. I feel like, if I was born in 91, and so it came up, was it 93? And then 97 was the first game. I don't remember.
96 in Japan and 98 in the U.S. is when 98. It came out.
I split the difference. I've done that before, Adam. I'm embarrassed.
It's okay. I just had this conversation with somebody that was like, "Oh no, I've been playing since 1996," and I was like, "Yeah, but the games didn't come out until the U.S."
Oh, you used to live in Japan. Oh, cool.
Yeah,
cool.
Exactly.
You just start immediately gatekeeping. No, you didn't. You're done. You're done.
So I was.
They were doing that to
7.
me.
Oh my gosh!
I was 10 years old when it came out.
That's amazing. Yeah, I'm saying I think around 6 to 12, more conservative 7 to 10 probably. That was the demographic age group that really latched on. So, Adam, it sounds like you and I were in that same pool. Ken, I don't know what your deal is. I'm just kidding.
No, I was an old man. I was 38 when it came out.
You're let's go.
You're I was born in 91. I fucking graduated high school in 95, dude.
Yeah, I was born in 88, and the game came out on the English side in 98. So that's literally I was 10 years old when the game came out. I was Ash Ketchum when the game came out.
Yeah, amazing. If only you didn't age like Ash doesn't age.
I know. It's been tough. I've been trying. It's life.
Just keep
life
watching
just
the
hits you
anime.
like a ton of bricks.
That's right. But I started with red version. My sister got blue version. And played through those games. I've played every single generation since. I watched the television show. And I feel like for most people, because I wasn't into the competitive scene, I was actively collecting and consuming the media. But I didn't stick with the TCG or anything that would have carried me through the high school slump that I feel like a lot of those kids went through. So I didn't stop playing, but I definitely stopped actively engaging with Pokemon outside of the main series games.
The
getting
culture.
excited for them. Right, exactly. And then, I started hearing about Pokemon Go, all the rumors and stuff for like the 2 years prior. Then the year prior, they had like a little tech demo and things like that. And I'm probably getting this timeline a little bit wrong, but that was close enough for our purposes here. And I was very excited about it. When it came out, it was like I was born again Pokemon fan. It's been there my entire life, but I feel like this is the most invested and most like fanatically obsessed with Pokemon I've ever been as an adult, and it's really, really cool because it's A-okay, because disposable income is really important in Pokemon Go.
Totally. No, but I think that, something we've brought up before is one of the beauties of this franchise is it has a very strong parallel with sports, in the sense that when you're a kid, you probably have some kind of affinity to a sports team, and you may not be into sports as you go through adolescence or mature or anything like that. But then as an adult, you kind of find your way back to the roots of why you love that thing when you were a kid. And I see a lot of parallels with that with Pokemon, where people can kind of drift away from the franchise for a while, but then they come back and the franchise is just sitting there like with open arms, like, come on back.
Exactly.
Come on.
And the community is really welcoming as well. So it makes it easy.
Yeah.
Well, it's as much as we're nerdy about it, and as much as, Twitter might make it seem like a lot of people are gatekeepy.
Yeah, I was going to say, unless it's Twitter, unless you're trying to come back on Twitter, don't do that.
Don't do that. But it really is very welcoming. And one of the cool things that, we notice with Pokemon Go is you could have many experienced players, and when they see a new player, they embrace the hell out of it because they get really excited about that. Like if I see a gym that has like, someone in the teens level trainer in there, it's like I'm like, oh yeah, fucking new blood, like this is great. And I love that. I mean, I'll definitely kick them out of the gym if they're not Valor, but it's great that they're there. It's great.
What about
that
the
they're
8-hour rule?
Nah, dude, they gonna learn today. Let's go.
That's what I said. If I get to the gym and it's not red, you best believe when I leave that shit's gonna be red.
If it ain't red, it's dead.
Yep,
that's
exactly.
Right.
So that's awesome. I love, and it doesn't matter. We've had, like, when we had Mystic 7 on, he's like, look, this was my foray into the Pokemon franchise was Go. So, I mean, that's a great thing. And it's also really cool when we talk to people that are like, no, I picked up red or blue and have been with it ever since. So it doesn't matter what your entry point is. It's just cool. You have this instant camaraderie, and you have like that nerd cred where, you just like tip your hat when you see someone with like, a little Pikachu shirt on or something like that. It's like, all right, we're nerd brethren. Right. And it's really fucking cool. So no, that's awesome that you've been with the franchise for so long. So how did that love of the franchise turn into a podcast? And what made you kind of decide not only to podcast about Pokemon, but to wrap yourself around it that would lead to a point where you're more invested than you've ever been now?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. And I really kind of do view this as two parallel tracks that sort of like met at a beautiful head. And then, we've just been going ever since. But I did skip over, I think, two of your questions from earlier, though. My favorite Pokemon is Cyndaquil. Favorite generation was Johto, by the way.
I don't think I know anyone else whose favorite Pokemon is Cyndaquil, so that's really fucking cool.
Really? There's a few of us. There's a few of us out there. We all exchanged phone numbers. We've got a Facebook group chat. It's great. It's great.
Cyndaquil Lovers Anonymous.
That's right. Exactly. Yeah. But the whole podcasting interest thing was actually something that was born of my love of video games in general, which is one of the reasons why Pokemon was thrust into my life, because, it was an unassuming JRPG, which, Americans didn't know at the time. But we were about to become addicted to JRPGs for the rest of our lives.
Sure.
Yeah. So that was great. But I eventually, like I said, I put it down and I got into my really big drug of choice, which was World of Warcraft in high school and a little bit of college as well. I got swept up in that, played since vanilla. Ken, yes.
For the Horde.
Oh, dude, all of my friends were Horde, so I have to say that, but I was kind of an Alliance guy.
I've got a level 90 Blood Elf. I've got a level 90 character, and wow, dude, I played for many years. So
I played Yu-Gi-Oh at some point.
That's close. They have wizards, right?
Yo,
yes,
dragon
it's a dark
expansion.
Magician.
Dude, the WoW Dragon expansion.
Yeah,
looking
dude,
pretty
don't
fucking
man.
good.
Hey, does it really, man? Oh man, you're I'm like so personally offended and betrayed by Blizzard right now. So,
of course.
Yeah. It's hard. It's hard as an adult to not separate that stuff. But anyway, I was super into World of Warcraft. I feel like that's very relatable for a lot of people. And I started listening to podcasts because I didn't have anybody around besides a few friends that I could really only talk to about it at school, and that was about it. I had nobody else to talk to. My parents didn't care for it. My sister was 4 years older than me, so she was like basically off at college at that point in time. And so I was like, what else could I do? I want to have more of this. I want to hear what other people are thinking, saying, feeling about this game that I care about so much. And so then I found the instance. So shout out to Scott Johnson, who is kind of like the godfather of my experience of podcasting. His format for his show has followed me through my last, what year is it? 2022? 12 years of podcasting. And listened to him forever, still listen to his shows. But I eventually took that sort of inspiration and turned it into, hey, this new big game just came out called League of Legends, and all my friends are playing it. Got like 7 of them together, and we just started recording episodes. Learned a whole lot. As a high school junior, recording podcasts, or a high school senior, and then going off to college as a freshman, podcasting on a weekly basis through that experience is almost as difficult as it is as an adult with a full-time job.
Right.
It was harder. But we were younger at the time. So, having 7 people was nice because we always had at least 4, but 7 is too many people.
Yeah. Well, first of all, huge shout out to the instance, because that
absolutely
for me, that was one of my favorite podcasts that introduced me to passion podcasts, because I would listen to comedy podcasts. I would listen to news podcasts very, very early on. I listened to like The Nerdist, things that were more entertainment based, but not necessarily passion based. And then when I found the instance, the format, it felt like a playwright, it felt like I was watching a stage show, and that format that Scott had brought to the show, it influenced, I think, probably the majority of video game podcasters coming out of that time, because it was just like a perfect flow of how to cover news, culture, the technical side of the game, and just general shenanigans all kind of rolled up. So shout to the instance. Huge inspiration to my podcast career as well. But I mean, 7 hosts, dude. How?
Yeah, like I said, it was kind of nice because everybody was a little bit busy, so we'd have around 4. But we did a meetup, we did a live recording, we split up into a few different shows at some point in time. I think over the past 12 years, I've been on and have run or let go of eventually like around 10 or 12 podcasts. League of Legends was one. Did one on Destiny called Space Police. I love that title. It's hilarious. A random one called Slapdash. There was a premium show called The Vault. The list goes on, But I eventually kind of took a step away from podcasting. I handed off LeagueCast, which is still running to this day, 12 years strong.
That's awesome.
And actually the 3 that run it, 2 of them were fans of the show to begin with. And one of them was a young brother of a mutual friend of all of ours that were on the show as well. It's just it's interesting how it all worked out. But anyway, they're still going. So shout out to LeagueCast. I'd recommend them if you like League of Legends and you like podcasts. You should listen to them. But I took a small break, and then Pokemon Go came out, and I was like, oh my God, you know what? This would be perfect for a podcast.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah.
And that's really it. It's not any more romantic than that. The game just lends itself to anecdotes, connection, sharing experiences. Like Ken was saying, as a passion podcast, it's like perfect for it.
And like when you first started the show, what was your intention? You had experience podcasting, you had experience building brand names and communities around those brands. So with Pokemon Go being such a craze, yet podcasting still being so niche, what was your intention with launching the show, and where did you think that it would take you?
Yeah, so to be really, really honest with you, I would like to say that I had some sort of grand vision in mind, that I was able to tap into the game and see 5 years down the road and see this conversation, or a conversation that we'll probably have in 2 years at some rooftop bar after a long day at another Go Fest. You know, like, I wish I could say that, but that wasn't the case. Honestly, I wanted to start the show because, well, first of all, I'd done so many shows that had since failed. I knew that it had to be something I gave a shit about. Like, really gave a shit about, right? Yep. And this game was that. It was also an opportunity for me to tie in my fiance at the time, Ness, who used to be on the show. It was something that we could do together. And I brought in Kyle as well because he was very passionate about it. And I could just tell that our banter at work was good for it, right?
Chemistry.
Exactly. You can't teach that, man. Like, what the two of you have is natural. What Kyle and I have, it's natural. And of course, we've all gotten better at it. But if it's not there to begin with, it doesn't matter how long you talk to that fucking person. It's not going to be good.
I've always said that it's it's very difficult to feign anything in a podcast because the audience is going to be able to, even though they're not looking at anything, they can see right through that shit, like, immediately. Yeah. And when a podcast is forced, you know it, because it feels like, even if the person isn't reading a script, it feels like they're reading off a teleprompter, even if they're speaking from the heart. And it's like, yeah, this is not natural. It's not organic.
And I can tell you, those podcasts, I just go to a different podcast immediately.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, well, because if I'm going to dedicate my ear space to someone's time, right, I want to make sure that when they're talking about it, they're talking about it from a place that is organic, that's true and real. And, you know, that I want that, hey, I'm hanging in the room feeling when I'm listening to a podcast. And I think that any good podcast will give off that feeling, which, like, when I was listening to The Instance every week, I don't know these fucking guys, but I felt like I knew them.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It was like, and that vibe, I think, is something that more so than any other creative platform for coverage, like we can call it a creative coverage, like news or whatever, is you have this really cool innate ability to welcome people in and make them feel at home in your space, even if physically or, you know, geographically you'll never even be in the proximity of that person, but you make them feel like that. And with Pokemon Go, it bridges the gap, because before you know it, you are face to face with these people, and it's like, what the fuck? I've been listening to you for 3 years. I feel like I know everything about you. And it's like, you know, we did that this past Safari Zone in Philadelphia.
Oh my God,
we literally
you can't fake that. That was we put
such
an
a real
Airbnb
moment together with members from our community from all over the country. We had all people that were in the podcast community, listeners. And we all got together in the Philly Airbnb. We had seen each other on Zoom calls for a year, but we never met. And the immediate, like, that first night in the Airbnb, it was like, these are people that I will be friends with for the rest of my life. And that is kind of one of these, one of the benchmarks of what makes Pokemon Go so fucking rad, is that it creates these relationships, and we're able to nourish those relationships through podcasting. And, you know, when I advocate for the platform to people, and they don't really get it. You know, they're like, oh, is it radio? You know, because I listen to the radio all the time. I listen to the Z Morning Zoo, or I listen to Howard Stern. And it's like, I grew up listening to Howard. And his format has always been very podcast-esque, you know. And it's like that feeling of, I feel like I'm in the room and I'm laughing as hard as if my friend was telling me this story in person. That's a really cool vibe. And Pokemon Go bridges that gap. And it's a bummer that Kyle couldn't join us tonight, because it was great to talk to him the other day. And the last time I really spent any time with Kyle was GoFest 2019.
Yeah.
Yep. At the
Monk's Pub.
Yeah, Monk's Pub. I almost killed one of my friends who was allergic to peanuts, and like there's peanuts all over that bar. He came in within 5 minutes. He's like, I gotta go. I can't breathe. It was fucking amazing.
No. Oh, I'm sorry. That's a bummer.
So awesome.
Oh man.
But yeah.
The Malort made up for it, right?
Oh,
sure did.
Yeah. Hold on. Hard stop. Can we talk about the Malort real quick?
Hard stop or hard stuff, man?
Oh, dude, it was fucking disgusting. Nothing beats that picture of my face, like immediately after drinking that.
Oh yeah.
And it's like,
it's the physical manifestation of regret.
But then then you made me do it again. We did it twice, and I was like, okay, I'll do it again. It's like, and I
because I believe you were gonna give it to me, and then you were like, and then I don't know, for some reason I was like, no, and then Ken's like, I'll do it.
A moment of hesitation.
It was Terry
jumps.
Wolf too. Terry Wolf's fault too.
Mm-hmm.
He was a very bad influence.
At the beginning of that meetup, we also had to run out and buy a power cord. Strip and extension cord. Yeah,
which we didn't even end up needing.
No, we ran into Liz on the street.
We ran into Liz, the old community manager for Pokemon Go, on the fucking street. It was hilarious. It was so funny. And like Terry Wolf was wasted. It was like 5 minutes into the event. He's already drunk. He was like just being loud and rowdy on the street. It was fucking so good.
It was awesome.
But anyway, getting back to center here. It's very interesting to say, all right, you're now creeping on 200 episodes, right?
Mm-hmm.
So 200 episodes, you didn't know what the fuck you were getting into. And I think that's one of the coolest things about podcasting is that you could just hit go, right? You could just start. And what was it that motivated you to put that first episode out? Like, did you just say, like, do I care about the production value? Do I care about, the audience? Or did you just like want to have a creative outlet and scream from the mountaintops? Because that's kind of how I felt in the very beginning. It was just like, I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. I just need to let this creative energy out of my body and into the world. What was that like for you, episode 1?
Yeah, no, that's a really great question. I don't think I've ever thought about this from that perspective. I definitely thought about the show holistically, but not necessarily like on a micro motivational level, like thinking back on it in a reflective way. The one point that I didn't quite get to before was that it would something to do with Ness, and then we brought Kyle on, and that was cool, and I knew that we all cared about the game, so it would go well. But ultimately, I wanted to put something together because anytime I've ever not had an additional project to work, school, whatever was going on, I felt empty, like super empty. And so I needed that. And I was like, this is the opportunity. This is the thing, and then it just turned into this other thing over time, 5 years or 4 years. It'll be 4 years in July 1st. It'll be 4 years. And like you said, almost 200 episodes, really exciting. It's turned into so very, very, very much more than that. And it's 100% because of our listeners and community. And I know that sounds very like, I'm running for Congress, vote for me. I couldn't have done it without the people of, I don't know, Tennessee or whatever. But like quite honestly, it did change the reason for the season, so to speak, for why I'm podcasting now. Like, I feel guilty. I feel bad if I don't. And it's not necessarily a bad thing because I need a kick in the pants personally. That's just my personality needs that. So this provides that, and the amount of gratitude that we receive. If we have to delay an episode, people are like, don't worry about it. We'll catch you next week or see you after the weekend. People are so understanding. It's impossible to not want to make these people happy.
Well, yes. I think that leads into a good point here that, we can touch on, because we both kind of had some parallel issues in our personal lives through the life cycle of our shows.
Yeah.
And I went through like a fucking nasty divorce. My ex-wife was a former podcast host on Lured Up. It was a fucking nightmare. It was a mess. And we were able to spin it in a way that made entertainment out of a really shitty and fucked up situation, but one that almost I felt compelled to do because I felt like I was friends with the audience and I wanted to share what I was going through with the audience so they would have a better understanding of where I came from when I was talking about Pokemon. And that's such a weird fucking thing to say, but I felt compelled to share, not overshare. It's like there's things that remain private and all that shit, of course. But again, to have that transparency with the audience, I got so many letters, encouraging letters, people writing me, saying like, look, thanks for sharing this. I know you didn't have to. And I appreciate that you did, because now I have a better understanding of where you're at when it comes to your stories of how you spend your day or what you do with your time. Mm-hmm. And for all of us here, we're all part-timers, right? We're part-time creators that do our best to provide a full-time creator product, right?
Yep.
And when the shit hits the fan in your life, it really helped me continue grinding and keep my nose to the grindstone because I had that compulsion to create, and I had that feeling of I need to do this for the audience. And I'm exceptionally grateful for that because they're the ones that I was really doing this for. It's not often I could talk to people that have been through shit as a creator, but what was that fucking like to like have some personal struggles and to have like changes to your life, whether it was moving or relationship? What was that like with keeping yourself not only motivated to create, but also putting on the game face when you hit record? Because that was difficult for me. That would like, you know, I was down in the dumps. I was a fucking mess. I wasn't sleeping. I was, you know, unhealthy, just shitty. But for some reason, when I hit record, I snapped the fuck out of it. It was this bizarre thing. What was that like for you?
Yeah, it's really interesting to hear you describe some of the things that you were going through, because while you and I have connected about the striking parallels and timing in particular about what happened to the two of us, a lot of the things you've said aren't things that I have come up in conversation that I find very relatable. But I haven't really talked about it on our show a whole lot. I just kind of mentioned that Ness split. She's going to do something else. But it's been a really long time since that has happened. It's been, you know, it's been over 2 years. So, January 1st of 2020, Ness sat me down and she just said, I'm done. And there's nothing you can do about it. And so I was like, all right, cool, whatever. That's not true. And I, you know, convinced her to go to therapy and all that sort of stuff, but I don't want to overshare. Basically, it was really awful. It was really awful. I felt betrayed. I felt abandoned, all these sorts of things. And that's not to say that I'm not 100% perfect either. I'm not trying to say I'm a victim 100% here, but it was very difficult to just suffice to say I was pretty fucked up. I had depression prior to that, and this exacerbated that. And I was also dealing with ADHD. I didn't know that at the time. Apparently I have been my whole life. I've since been medicated on both. That's why I have such clarity looking back on these situations. But that's just to put a face to how difficult it was. But to bring it to the show and to podcasting, I definitely think game face is something that saved me 100%. Because, you know, I'd wake up in the morning and I was like sleeping on a futon every once in a while, or just like around the apartment, different places, because I was like, nothing felt right in the space, right? And there was nowhere else to go. And so like, I was always okay back at my computer. And then Kyle was extremely supportive of the entire thing. Because he's the one of the best friends I've ever had in my entire life. Really good guy. And we're like, no, we're gonna do the show. Just keep doing it. It was really difficult because Ness was part of it. I'm assuming it was difficult for the two of you as well. But you just kind of pick up the pieces and keep going. And that experience brought about this greater understanding of what this show means to me. You know, I thought I was providing a safe third place for other people. And that's a Starbucks thing. I used to work at Starbucks. They wanted it to be, you know, your home, work, and then the store was the third place. And it permeates my brain. But I wanted the podcast to be that third place. Like the instance was for me while I was trying to fall asleep and just smiling along to Scott talking about, wow, I wanted that to be what we gave to people. And I realized in that moment that it was a two-way street for sure, because I would have been a mess. I would have had no structure outside of drudging through work and being like, how is this going to shake out, and just obsessing over it. The recording and podcasting in general gave me the reprieve that I needed and gave me the support that I needed, because I knew people cared. They cared about, this is going to sound a little bit selfish, but like they cared about me and my opinions. People didn't make me feel, you know, any lesser than, you know. It was just really great to recognize the symbiotic relationship and be honest about it for the first time in like probably, you know, 10 years at that point in time. I didn't quite acknowledge how important it was.
And the whole community has your back.
Yeah. Well, I think that's that amazing piece, right? That intangible thing of the relationship between creator and audience. And a lot of times it's something that can get lost when you have interpersonal relationships woven into the creative process. And that's a huge fucking challenge, because how do you escape it, right? How do you get out of it? And like Adam went through shit too. I mean, that was like a year ahead of me. And like, we have kids, you know what I mean? So it's like, it made it that much tougher. And
it was, I completely relate to how tough it was. I remember just sitting in my car crying. Like, it's just,
no joke.
You just get home and then like, I don't know what to do with myself.
Yeah. I called up my mom a whole lot. That's what I did.
Yep. See, my parents moved. So the relationship ended. Parents moved. My daughter at the time got basically taken away. So all this stuff happened, and then COVID hit, and then it's just like all the cycles into, hey, now I have depression. It's super amplified. So, and then like days that I don't take my medication, I'm like, oh, I feel fantastic. I want to create tons of content. I want to stream. I want to do this. And my mind's just everywhere like it normally is. But like, then I also just randomly cry. So
I always know when Adam's having a good day, because it's like, oh, a post just went up. He must be having a good day.
And it literally correlates to how I'm feeling. Like if I'm not posting anything, I'm down in the dumps. That's just how I feel.
Yeah. But I just want to hop back in here and just I know that we were talking about not oversharing, but I feel like the three of us have still probably shared more than the average person would feel comfortable sharing in a group, especially if they know that's going to be a public facing sort of thing. Like, this is just representative of how comfortable we are in this space with these group of people that listen to our shows, that we know, that we're friends with, interact with. Like, we trust you to talk about this. That's
100%.
Another feather in the cap of podcasting, guys. Like,
sure.
Well,
man.
yeah. Well, I was just thinking. Sorry, you go.
No, I wrote the show notes, right? And when I put the show notes together, it looked so fucking formal, and it looked so textbook. And when we were just bullshitting before we hit record, I go, you know what, dude? Like, you want to talk about this shit? And I'm glad we did. It's like, again, because I think this helps people understand where we're coming from when we're talking about shit that isn't this stuff, because this is the stuff that helps us understand and appreciate what we go through with this game, whether it's how we travel or who we meet or what we're doing when we're out. All of this stuff and all the shit that we've been through kind of play a role in all this. And for most of us, and this is a really cool concept here, is the therapeutic ability that Pokemon Go has.
Yep.
Not only with the game itself, where you can lose yourself in your phone, right? Like, anyone could do that. You could be on the shitter and lose yourself in your phone watching TikToks for 3 hours, right? And get nowhere and feel no sense of accomplishment. But you're like, hey, I didn't think about my depression for 3 hours, but what the fuck did I just do for 3 hours? Like, literally my ass is numb from being on the toilet. Where with Pokemon Go, I can go to the park and walk around in nature and breathe fresh air and look at fucking birds and
take AR photos.
Yeah,
enjoy.
And still, again, it's a combination
out.
of this creativity and, dude, I'm fucking unfit. You know what I mean? Like, it's my ability, and this is what motivates me to exercise. This is what motivates me to get outside and get some fucking natural vitamin D. You know what I mean? Because it's like, I'm just it all ties into it. And I think that that's what makes us better storytellers. I think it makes us better podcasters, and it creates that bridge a little bit differently from like other forms of medium. Like when I'm watching a celebrity on TV or an actor or something like that, it's like, I don't know what the hell is going on. But when I listen to like the Kinda Funny podcast, and I'm listening to Greg Miller, and I know that, his dog just passed away, shout to Porty, and it like fucking wrecked me. You know what I mean? And it's like, because I felt for him, and they had this incredibly emotional podcast dedicated to the dog. And you have the host of the podcast like telling me that they love each other and all this shit. And I'm like, what the fuck is going on right now? Like, I'm so invested. And yeah, I think that's the power of podcasting that is the reason why we all do this. And that's why I love having you on the Creator Series, because whenever we talk, it always shifts from Pokemon Go to podcasting. You know what I mean? And we end up talking about the medium. And I think that's what makes this medium so fucking special, is that this is probably the closest thing to a telephone call, right? A telephone call is very personal, right? You could send someone a text. It's not personal, but you pick up the phone and talk to somebody, it's at least more personal if you're not going to see them in person. And with podcasting, I feel this direct connection to the microphone. And I feel like when I'm speaking, even if I'm speaking about non-personal things, it allows me to have this such a deep, passionate release of,
Careful
feelings.
with that next word. Okay.
Yeah. But that kind of dopamine chase, right? Like that's the thing and that's what I get from my audience. They say, oh man, I was listening and I felt good. And like, we're providing dopamine for someone else in their ears on the input side. And I'm like, that's pretty fucking funny because I'm chasing the dopamine of letting it out.
Right.
And and that's kind of the cool vibe of especially being in the Pokemon space, because we all are about fucking friendship and love and relationships and all this stuff. It's built into the core tenets of Pokemon, not even Pokemon Go, but Pokemon at large, friendship, honesty, integrity, professionalism, the core like Pokemon Professor tenets. They all are just good shit. They're just all good stuff, high moral compass, like things like that. So when you can tie all that together creatively, it's phenomenal.
The dopamine that comes out while podcasting, I can also listen to the podcast and I'm like, I don't know if I like my voice, but I still get excited because I'm like hearing it as if Ken's talking to me, even though like we were already talking together. So it's fun. It's fun.
I'll be editing the show and then I'll go talk to Kyle and I'm like, I feel like I've just been talking to you for like 3 hours already. And he's like, how was your day? I'm like, what do you mean?
Yeah, exactly.
We already told each other it was good 352 times.
I fall into that trap with Adam too. And it's like, and I have to kick myself because we've got 3 shows that we do together and we do all this stuff and we spend a lot of time together digitally. And a lot of that time is in production and not just, hey buddy, I love you. How you doing? How was your day?
That's only like the last 2 or 3 minutes. Like, I'm tired. I'm going to bed.
Yeah. Sometimes like we hit end and I'm like, bro, my fucking eyes are closed right now. I gotta go. But like every so often, it's like we'll have those catch up moments, and it's like, oh yeah, you're my best friend, dude. Like,
right. It's like coming up for air, Like, all right.
Well, and he, we had Stuffle Community Day in New York. It was the first time I've seen Adam since Philly Safari Zone. Before Philly Safari Zone, it was fucking GoFest 19, right? Adam?
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
So it's like that whole transition of making a digital person into like a real person is the bomb. It's like that's the shit. And it's just so cool that we have all this.
Yeah, the one of the 3, Nick Cooper, who runs GleekCast now, was my best man at my wedding.
Nice.
And he was one of the ones that was a listener first. He was a fan, then started playing matches with us, and he literally moved from Florida up here because he was moving out. And it's incredible what podcasts can do for you. But I want to go back really quick. I don't want to let this opportunity go by. But you saying crying over people on a podcast that you never met. Ryan Davis, 2013 Giant Bombcast.
Oh my God,
tore my heart out, dude. I was bawling.
Yeah, it was brutal. So we've been fortunate enough. I had Jan Ochoa from Giant Bomb on the show.
I was so jealous.
And I got to talk to him, and he didn't work with Ryan. But it was the same kind of thing where he was a fan, and that was heavy, dude.
Yeah,
it was heavy. Well, all of those guys, because those guys are like us. They wear their heart on their sleeve. They're not afraid to get emotional. They're not afraid to discuss what's going on inside their head or in their hearts on the show, even though it's wrapped up in a video game package.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, dude, that was a tough one, man.
Yeah,
that was a real tough one.
Speaking of not taking episodes off, I think the next episode they did like their favorite memories of Ryan Davis, and literally all of them were like crying, and they get like millions of listeners. Like they knew that they were being that vulnerable with that many people. That was another milestone moment when I heard that. I was like, dang. Dang.
Yeah. Damn. Now it's like, I'm like, oh man, I got to call Jan. Like, it's just that it's like, it's so crazy that the podcast has kind of like, just made that possible. You know what I mean? To like, again, I've been a fan of Giant Bomb from the fucking GameSpot days. You know what I mean? Like, so it's like that progression. And then to have a member of Giant Bomb on the show, I was a Mythbusters fan. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, it was like so full circle. I was like, this is the fucking craziest shit ever. But yeah, that's wild. All right, let me steer the ship a little bit because this. First of all, I want to say I love you guys both. Like while we're all lovey fucking dovey here,
I'm gonna start tearing up here. Come on,
love you guys too. Man.
We're so past that, so past the tears. But let's talk about the shows, right? So, GoCast, Lured Up. We had Pokemon Go Radio. We had Pokemon Go Podcast. There was a bunch of shows that were in this space, all releasing concurrently. And I think all of us were probably faced at one point with, well, how do we have enough stuff to talk about? And then you learn that the audience isn't just listening to your show, they're listening to 5 Pokemon Go shows. And it's like, what the fuck? Like, how is this a thing? How is this possible that people care this much about something that they'll listen to the same news being covered?
Yeah, Chris is like, Rayquaza's coming out.
Different people.
Adam and Ken, Rayquaza's coming out. Oh, I bet the GoCast or Pokemon Go Radio is going to talk about Rayquaza.
Yeah, pretty much.
But we all had our own kind of lane. And this is something we talked about on your show last week of like why and how could our shows remain successful when we're pretty much releasing day and day and we're covering the same shit. And it was because this medium is like music. And I compare it to music all the time, right? Because you've got 12 notes in the chromatic scale. You only got 26 letters in the alphabet, yet you could write a fucking book with it, right? So how do you take the same information that we're all covering? We're all reading the same press release. We're all reading the same blog and reporting on it. What makes it so different? So when it comes to what you find is important to your audience, when you get a bit of news or a piece of information from Niantic, what's the most important thing that your audience? Is it how you deliver it? Are they worried about numbers and stats? Do they care about what your impression of the event is? Or do they just want news coverage? Because I think that's what kind of defines what lane your show lives in, is how your audience, you feed your audience, right? Adam always uses the term like, see a need, fill a need. And that's super important when it comes to podcasting. And that's typically one of the biggest bits of advice I give to new podcasters is like, well, what are you going to podcast about? And why are you going to podcast about it? If it's just a passion thing, great, fucking hit record and publish it. But if you feel that you can provide something that will be beneficial to someone, well, how can you do that differently? And I think that's what makes all the Pokemon Go shows, because there was a point where there was 4 shows that were doing very well, charting very well on like the Apple podcast charts. And we were all doing great. And I'm like, what the fuck? This is not normal. There isn't any other video games that have multiple shows out that are all charting. So
yeah,
what's important to you when you get a piece of information from Niantic or from the top, however it may be, what's your core goal of how you deliver that message to the audience and what makes that unique for your show?
Yeah, again, another great question. Oh, geez. So I really feel like to sort of boil this down and then drill down into some details, right? I think the similarity is what makes it so interesting between our shows, because it's not necessarily the differences. It's seeing the same thing reinforced across different shows, even in different lights. It kind of speaks to the breadth of the demographic that Pokemon Go brings in. It's literally everybody.
Right.
I always tell this story of the original raid days from the first 3 birds from Kanto. The first one was Articuno, right? I believe. Yes, It was. Yeah. And on that one, I went out and I played with a bunch of local people nearby that I've never played with before. And we were running through graveyards. We were cutting through back, a bunch of stuff that we probably shouldn't have done, but it was the first year, so give us a break. But we started in a public park. It had 3 baseball diamonds, and this van pulls up, goes up onto the grass, sliding door opens, kid 1 pops out, kid 2 pops out. Their parents pop out of the front, and then I kid you not, they lower a ramp, and grandma in a wheelchair, not even motorized, comes out, and she points to where the first gym is going to be, and she starts going over the grass, over the baseball diamond. I'm like, go, grandma, go. And the game is for everybody. It's fantastic. But it's to sort of bring it into what you're talking about, the things that make us different right across the shows. And I think that this also kind of goes part and parcel with the question of what is value in a podcast. And I feel like that's different for every single person. We talked about this last time I was here. It's a real intimate decision to listen to a podcast because you're inviting these people that you're going to sort of make this weird like parasocial relationship with into your home, into your car, into your run, into your shower, like where you are most vulnerable, right?
Always in the shower.
That's right.
If you're taking a shower right now, wash your ass.
Don't forget.
Yeah, you should always watch that, all right?
That's right. Yeah. So, I mean, we have a couple of things that we do on purpose, and we have a lot of things that have happened by accident. The first one was we wanted to be brand... what's the word? Brand appropriate, I suppose, with Pokemon.
Brand conscious.
Brand conscious, I can't think of, not brand parallel, I can't think of it, but we wanted to be family friendly. We wanted to, when kids would write in with emails, we wanted to make sure that we read them with the same respect we read emails from adults, those sorts of things. And as I was figuring out why, I was like, yeah, this is a good show. I'm like, because this is what I liked when I was a kid listening to The Instance. That's what I wanted, right? It just so happens to work really well with Pokemon as well, generally speaking. So we're clean. We have an emphasis on goal setting every week. I feel like people know us for that more than anything else.
For sure.
I agree with that 100%
Definitely.
because it's like because we have people that in our subgroups do the same shit, and they do it because they hear it on your show.
That's awesome.
But that's what motivates them to play, because this game is very rinse repeat, and it's a lot of mundane shit. So it takes a little bit of personal creativity to challenge yourself, because you're not getting those challenges from the game itself.
Right, exactly. Yeah, you have to get that sense of fulfillment and achievement somewhere else. You have to make it for yourself. I mean, the Going Beyond update changed a lot of that for everybody, but we still have goals on the side that we're doing, even if it's in pursuit of those things. It's a good habit to be in. But that's pretty much it. Outside of that, we've just kept things really consistent. People like our catchphrases and things like that. Like, you guys have Battle Party Whoop Whoop. We have emails and stuff like that.
I say that shit every episode I listen to. I say emails, or what's up, guys? It's the news. Like,
hey, what's going on? Yeah. It's so funny, dude, because like some of the times when I'm not there and Kyle takes over for me, he does the little things. Like,
it's great. It's great.
It makes me smile. But I think those are the things that people latch onto. Those are the things that people call out. Like, if you're not sure what gives your show value, do it long enough and people will tell you what it is.
Well, and I think that's a good, I'm always trying to get new people into the format, right? I always want more people to podcast. And I think that's a very strong lesson, is to be conscious of allowing those things to happen organically. And it's not going to happen overnight. And you don't want it to happen overnight. You want it to be a result of the needs that your audience creates for themselves. And then, like Adam says, you fill that need. And when you can do that for them, then not only are you going to have like this stronger rapport with them, but then they know that they can rely on you for filling that need for them. And that's what keeps them coming back. So
I would push back on the fill a need thing to a degree. I think it is that, but I think it's also equal part like creating a need that people didn't know that they needed.
Ooh, yeah.
I
like that. That's much better. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's both. Creativity. That's creativity, right? Like that's what that is. That would be like the first time you hear like a mashup of two songs from opposing genres, right? And you hear one and you're like, all right, I can kind of vibe with this. And then you hear the other and you're like, yeah, that's pretty fucking cool. And then you hear them together and you're like, whoa, my fucking jellies are tingling right now.
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah, because you don't know that you're looking for something that could satisfy that. So yeah, that's a great fucking point. I totally dig that. And I think that a lot of this stuff is, could be intimidating for new podcasters, because for some, it might just be like, oh my God, I got 15 minutes worth of shit to say. I'm just going to let it all out. But then for others, like, it could be a lot more calculated. And I used to be fucking super anal retentive with the way I wrote the show.
Yes, he was.
I would script everything. I would spend 4 hours writing the show, and I would script everything. I would, of course, go off script, but I mean, I would literally script the whole fucking thing. And it was very technical. And over time, I learned like it was better to kind of back away from that, sometimes lean into it. And I think all this stuff is important for like newer podcasters to understand that these are all the trials and tribulations that you're going to find usually within like the first 50 episodes, right? Like it takes a little while. And, you know, when we were on your show last week, I said, you know, most podcasts don't make it to episode 10. Even fewer make it to episode 100. So, like, if you get to that point, you're fucking in. And, like, there's very few shitty podcasts that reach that number. Like, if you're reaching 100, at least, you know, you got something right, you know, because...
Yeah, for sure.
You know, I mean, I've seen streamers that have been streaming daily for fucking... years that have no viewers, and it's like, but they're still fucking doing it. They're still, I listened to this guy on Twitch play the accordion, right? His name is Eighth Radio. He's my fucking favorite streamer on Twitch, and he fucking puts a green screen up that has like a beach, and he plays like the Legend of Zelda music on an accordion. I listen to him every day, and he plays every day for hours for like 3 viewers. And I'm like, this guy is my fucking hero. I love this guy so much. I've subbed to him. I've donated to him. Like, it's fucking rad.
You're hyping in the chat?
Yo, dude, fucking emojis be popping off on 8th Radio. But yeah, I'm going to put his link in the chat or in the description so you can fucking follow this guy. He's awesome. But the level of, you don't get immediate feedback with a podcast. That's right. When you create a video for YouTube, you get video feedback almost immediately, right? You get pluses, minuses, thumbs up, thumbs down.
Comments.
You get comments, you know, and you get views. It's easy to see. With podcasts, it's a much looser thing. You don't really know.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of times you could get this false sense of security because you're like, oh shit, I got 1,000 downloads this episode. But like, yeah, but how many people are listening? You don't know. You don't know. So it leaves a lot to speculation. So the importance of developing your brand in your own corner of the world is hyper important. And again, going back to like what allowed the Pokemon Go space to have multiple podcasts that were all doing very, very well is we all found our little niche. Like, you know, we say, you know, shit, fuck all fucking episode. We talk about cock and balls. You know, we can't do that for kids, you know, so we're the only show that's marked as explicit. Mm-hmm. We didn't always do that. You know what I mean? And it's like, once we did that, the fucking viewership like quadrupled. It was crazy, like almost overnight. And, you know, it's not like we're cursing for the sake of cursing, but, you know, I'm from fucking Jersey. This is how I talk. And, you know, it's like, it's natural. I'll drop the F-bomb when it's appropriate. But I think that if someone wants to hear a podcast like that, they're going to come to us because there's nowhere else they can get that in this space. And granted, I'm speaking in general terms here. I'm sure there's fucking plenty of other podcasts talking about cock and balls and Pokemon Go altogether. But I'm just saying, it's everyone finding their little corner of the world. Now, let's just fast forward a bit. We've created a show. You've created a brand. You've created some episodes. You've found out what your audience likes. You found out how to technically do it. How does branding fit into the creative side? Because a lot of times when we talk about branding and marketing, it's like the antithesis of fucking creativity. It's dry, and it's also hyper important. And something I know that you guys have done very well, and I don't know how you do it because I work in digital marketing, is if you search on Pokemon Go podcast, you guys come back fucking high. And you don't even have the greatest fucking SEO name. Like, there's a show called Pokemon Go Podcast that fucking crushes the SEO game. But you guys always do really well. Like, what was it like developing social media and, you know, different ways to promote a podcast? Because it's not always the easiest thing to find unless you're just looking for it.
Yeah, you know, so this is one of the things that is like the largest disparity, I think. Like, you might think it's language between our two shows, but I think it's social media presence and how we approach these things. Because I do next to no marketing or promotion. In fact, the first episode that I've put out on Twitter as an announcement that we've actually put one up in months was with you guys, because I was like, oh, they promote, I'm going to absolutely do this, and they can retweet it and that sort of thing, right? But I used to try to keep up. I used to try to do Twitter. I used to try to do Instagram. I used to try to do Facebook, do all of them and that stuff. And then use Hootsuite, use other things to manage all of them. And I just couldn't do it. I don't have a love for social media in that way. It was a chore. It was really difficult for me. And so what we've really kind of relied on is sort of word of mouth, which works really well for us because we cast a wide demographic net on purpose.
Nice. Yep.
So I think those two things in tandem work. Now, was it a gamble? Absolutely. There's no way to guarantee listeners or anything like that. Do I look at your posts and they have high engagement? And do I think that's something that we should be doing? Of course I do. But at the same time, I also know myself as a content creator, and I couldn't do that consistently. And if I couldn't do that consistently, it would destroy me. And it, when I was doing them, the amount of responses we were getting were not to the point where I thought it was worth the time and effort. We put up the Poke Poll every single week on Twitter. That's like the only thing. And then we just interact with people on that platform. I don't use the Facebook page anymore. It exists. We don't use it. The Instagram is pretty much completely silent as well. Twitter's pretty much it. But again, that's because Pokemon Go focuses disproportionately in Twitter. Their official channels are disproportionately important in Twitter. So it allows us to get away with that. If that wasn't the case, I don't think I could say we've had as much, like unilateral success in that way.
Well,
right?
That's super interesting. And yeah, it is weird that Twitter is the platform when you look at other franchises within the Pokemon space like the TCG or the VG that don't, while of course they're there, they don't really rely on it. Like Adam, when you look for TCG news, do you turn to TCG Twitter?
No,
right?
Never.
You go on the web and you look at websites or fan sites or Pokemon.com itself, right?
Yeah, Limitless TCG. Like that's where you get.
I use
because all the tournaments are compiled.
Right.
It's super easy. Everything is just there,
Mm-hmm.
and you don't need to do anything.
So Twitter creates this like bizarre microcosm where you could have 100 really loud fucking people that are, in the grand scheme of things, a drop in the bucket, right? When it comes to, there's millions of people playing Pokemon Go, but you have these 100 really fucking loud people on Twitter, and it makes it seem like their voice is the voice of the people, when really their voice is probably the voice of a very, very, very small, passionate pocket. Now, what we try to do here on this show, or at least what I try to do, is harness that energy, right? Like they're all molecules that are bouncing around, and a tweet itself is this short little compact thing that someone can pack a lot of energy and emotion into, and it's just like Pong. That energy is just bouncing around in that tweet, and it's like, well, what good is it going to do if this tweet just lives there on its own? And this is the kind of visual thing that I try to put in my head of how I market. And I say, well, this energy here would do better and perform better if it had a longer gap between the bounces off the walls, right? That's the growth. That's the audience. So if I can create this tweet that has the original post, and then I can create a comment, and then someone's going to comment on that, and I can answer that comment. Now there's 4 tiers of Plinko, that the original feeling that original post can kind of bounce down to the thread and then bounce back up to the top. And that's that kind of thing that I try to do on Twitter. But Twitter is a fucked up place, man. Twitter is like this crazy, crazy place that if you're not ready to invest this kind of impartial feeling of like, I'm going to go like take a bath in a bunch of toxic shit, and when I get out, I'm not going to be able to really take a real bath. That's how it, like every time I go on Twitter, it's like, that's how it is. And I fucking love it. And I don't know why. And it's like I can't help it. It's just like, oh, I'm going to go on Twitter. I'm going to get all pissed off. I'm going to get all fucking fired up, and I'm going to have to get off Twitter, and I'm going to have this addictive compulsion to want to like go back and fucking flip desks and fucking set shit on fire. But like, instead, I'm just going to like poke the bear a little bit. I'm just going to get people divisive. I'm just going to get people understanding that I want people to argue in a constructive way. I want people to talk. I want people to debate. You could be passionate and hate shit, but like, tell me why you hate it so I can tell you why I don't hate it. And we don't need to meet in the middle, but let's create a space that will allow someone else to find the middle. And I think that's really how I harness Twitter. And
see, I just like posting pictures and stuff.
Adam gets off easy. He just gets to put pictures up.
I think people think that the peak of Pokemon Twitter is being banned by PokeAK, but I think it's being able to get people to actually have a conversation, because Poke fans are usually either like, I'm right and you're wrong and there's nothing you can tell me, or see ya.
Are you blocked by Poke AK?
Yeah, I've never talked to the man. He blocked us on the podcast. He blocked my personal. Fantastic. I have a third Twitter account that he used to just like troll people, like political figures I don't agree with, and that's not banned by Poke AK. So I still have a guy on the inside. You know?
Hold on, I think we need to get Adam. We need to get you banned by Poke AK. Are you, Adam?
It shouldn't be difficult. I don't think just tag him and be like, "Hey, I'm on Lured Up," and he'll get rid of you.
Yeah, we tried to have him on the show once. This was
I thought you guys did have him on, right?
We invited him on, and this is some inside baseball that if I wasn't banned before, I would definitely be banned after for sharing this story. So I'm very anal when it comes to preparation for a show, and obviously I don't need to prepare with you because you know your shit. But I would send people a calendar invite. I would send people all these different invites, 20 different ways. I would send them a document that says like, hey, this is how you should prepare, and this is the equipment that you'll need. This is the software you may need to download. You know, turn off your fans, turn your phone on silent. Like I got very, very granular with it. And I said, look, this is how we do it, and, you know, we'll need you to record your local audio, and you send us the file, and if you need help getting, you know, walking through how to download the software or how to use it, I'll gladly jump on a Zoom or whatever and walk you through it. So I didn't hear anything from him at all. We had him booked on the show, and I used to book shows like way in advance. So I had him booked on the show way in advance, and it's coming up to the week that he's supposed to be on, and I message him. I'm like, yo, just checking in. You good to go? You know, you need anything? You need any help? He's like, no, man, I'm all set. We're good to go. I'm like, fuck yeah, this is great. Come the night of the show, Adam and I are in the call, and he jumps in the call, and I'm like, all right, dude, you know, you ready to go? You ready to do this? And he sounds like shit. And I'm like, dude, I think your microphone might be set to the wrong input. Like, you know, check your input. And he goes, well, what do you mean my microphone? And I'm like, your microphone. I think your mic, you know, it might be picking up your webcam's mic, or it might be picking up your laptop or whatever. He goes, no, I'm just on my phone. I'm using my earbuds. And I'm like, all right, well, I had sent you a thing like, you know, that you needed to do this. I go, well, does your computer have integrated speakers? Does it have anything? He goes, no, I don't have a PC. So all of the videos, at least back then, all of the videos that he was producing, and he was getting fucking like 50,000, 60,000 views a video. He was doing 100% of it on the phone.
No shit.
100% of it on the phone.
All right. So I don't like this man at all, but I will say
so crazy.
One minuscule ray of respect for that alone in the sea of darkness and despair that is Poke.
But just to say, we didn't end up recording with him because I was like, yo, I ain't fucking recording with this shit. But I remember like Adam, when he left that recording, we were like, what just happened? What did we... Like I go, did I do something wrong? Like, did I not like send very, very detailed instructions of how to do this? And then like after that, I never talked to him again. He had talked some shit. There was like some beef that I got in. Of course, I got into a beef with somebody on Twitter, but I got into some.
Yeah, that's the thing I remember.
I got into some beef with Girls That PvP. We had the creator of the Girls That PvP hashtag on at one point, and she started like really talking hardcore shit about Niantic. So I like kind of chimed in and was just like, yo, come on, like, you know, you could be pissed, but you know, there's no need to do this. And we started beefing.
Be constructive.
Yeah. And or don't be constructive, just don't be a dick. And
sure.
And I don't know, something had happened where she was making this huge fuss because she got burned on like 4 raid passes or whatever, and I put a call in and got things kind of cleaned up for her. And then like, you know, I didn't want to like call it out, but she puts a post up like, oh, thanks to Poke AK for getting my raid passes refunded.
Oh boy.
So I was like, my blood was boiling because I had went out of my way to like help. And I was just like, I made some kind of post like, yeah, here we go. You know, I was just like, you know, I'm just happy I have a platform that allows me to help people when they need it. And she was like,
no kidding.
And she's like, oh, you're taking credit for Poke AK's work? And I was just like, this is the perfect Twitter fucking capsule right here. Perfect vertical slice of Twitter.
This is textbook,
I was like,
man.
This is so awesome. And it was just
so
it was
funny.
a total shit show. But while we're talking about equipment, I think that's another important thing to talk about whenever we talk about podcasts is equipment.
Oh yeah,
because that can scare a lot of people. And it's not to say that you can't record a podcast, especially with phones today. I remember when we had Pokémon, that was probably 4 or 5 years ago. The fucking audio recorder on an iPhone 13 right now is phenomenal. Like you could get phenomenal recording out of that. And I listen to some like comedy podcasts that they literally will be in the green room of a comedy show and put the phone down in the middle, and there's just 5 people talking around the phone, and it sounds great. So let's go back to your episode 1. What did your gear situation look like versus episode nearing 200? What does your gear look like now? And how has that kind of, influenced the production value and fidelity of your show over the years?
So I kind of probably had a little bit of a weird starting point because I came from a previous podcasting background and things like that. So one of the listeners that we had during my time at LeakCast, she hooked me up because she worked at a music store that had instruments, but they also had like hardware and things for like microphones and speakers. And so she hooked me up with a little soundboard at cost. It was like, $200 instead of $300 or whatever marked up, which is great. That's awesome. I've since replaced it with the same thing over again because it's amazing. So I have that, but I had 2 shitty like $45 microphones that I got off of Amazon that were XLR cables because I had the soundboard. That being said, I had plenty of USB microphones prior to that, like a Yeti or even a Snowball. Look into Blue if you want to actually put a teeny bit of money.
That's how Adam and I started, right? Adam,
the Yeti.
You both started. Yep. No, didn't you have a Snowball too?
No, I only had the Yeti.
So I started with the Snowball, graduated to the Yeti, and I think Adam and I recorded 125 episodes with the Yeti.
Yep.
Dude, $150-ish on sale. That shit is the fucking workhorse of the podcast industry. Yeah, that's a go-to mic.
Yeah.
I know. I got mine for like $119, something like that at Best Buy.
Yeah, those microphones in general, they're reasonably priced from the get-go, but they also have some banger sales sometimes on their website, and then also on like Best Buy or Amazon and things like that. You can find them for cheap.
I dropped my Yeti down a flight of steps and it worked still. Like literally, like I was watching it tumble, like dun, like
yeah. The thing that did my Yeti in wasn't anything with the mic itself. It was the goddamn mini USB on the bottom.
Yep,
that plug shat out on
that's
me.
broke on mine as well.
But now we're in
mine's
this...
still like I wrapped the cord around it and I just said, "You're retired, buddy." But I don't want to get rid of it. It's for a backup. You know what I mean? To like have that. But
that's where I put my hat. It's like my hat.
Enjoy the dust. You're like, what's this tiny phallic shaped thing? That's perfect for a hat. That's great. Yeah, but now we're in the world of XLR mics, and now that I've gone to the soundboard, I will never probably go back. But I will, of course, recommend USB mics for anybody that doesn't want to get a soundboard because it's a lot of money. But that being said, I'm rocking an SM7B because Kyle's dad is also in the music industry. I've just been blessed in this way. And he had several of them, and we were able to get them at cost again. They were a gift from him. So he was able to get them at cost, rather. Very, very thankful to Mr. Kyle's dad.
Nice. Yeah. And are you running like preamps and into an interface, or you go preamp into the board?
Yeah, so I've got my SM7B, and that's going into a cloud lifter, and then that's going into a soundboard that has Phantom that runs through it as well. It's got 4 inputs and 2 outputs, but it also is a USB plug into my computer. It's a digital board, so it's not, fully analog, which is great for our purposes, right? You guys are doing something similar?
So we're running Adam and I are running the same setup. We're also running Shure SM7Bs into cloud lifters, but then from the cloud lifter we go into Scarlett 2i2s, and the Scarlett has like a very strong amount of phantom power that really, really provides like a warm, clean tone. Like it's very, very different than a USB dynamic range. Mm-hmm. So it's like, but again, it's still, whereas like if I wanted to have a kick-ass fucking guitar rig, right, I'm spending $3,000. You could get a fucking bomb-ass podcasting rig with a great SM7B microphone, a cloud lifter, an interface, and you're still like well under $800. And this is probably the setup that Adam and I will use like in perpetuity. If any of these pieces of gear broke, we'd probably just replace them with the same piece.
Yeah.
Like there's nowhere really else to go from that. But it's interesting because I've heard people use SM7Bs and they sound like fucking garbage when on their recordings. So it's like, it's not just about the recording. I mean, the hardware, it's also about what software you're using and how you edit it down and all that good stuff and how you mix it. And that's where the real creative shit gets into. And that's where what Adam has been blessed with not having to worry about in 500 episodes.
Same with Kyle. It's a nice club, isn't it, Adam?
Kyle, I love how Kyle's just like, yep, don't need to worry about it.
Yeah, he's like, I write gear up, and then
Kyle
I'm here.
and I are just going to start our own podcast. You got the edit this time, or do I got it? Oh, you got it?
You
Let's
guys
flip a coin.
record every week, but neither of you has ever brought it up because you don't want to bring it up and be responsible for it. Neither of you have ever edited them. They don't even get published, but you have like 20 episodes in the folder.
Yeah. They're like, I don't know how to publish this, but
no.
What do I do?
Ken
I
has
mail it
shown
to the
me.
federal government?
Ken has shown me how to do stuff. I have edited my own personal podcast.
No, nice.
Prior all this stuff, it was for Toys to Life back in the day. It was a lot of work. And even back then, I didn't put that much work into it, but I did clean it up the best I could. But that, again, like Ken said, I only had 7 podcasts, and then it died.
Yo, it's hard to make it to 10. 10 is a fucking milestone.
Well, I mean, the actual game itself was like being promoted, and then it just was like, nope, the website doesn't exist. We're not making that anymore.
Ugh.
Yeah. All right, so we talk
Infinite
about
Arms.
We talk about motivation. We talk about content and what drives the stuff. We talk about hardware. Go ahead.
Yeah, I did have one extra thought on hardware before we leave this behind. Because, while it is a lot cheaper than other, musical ventures might be, like you were comparing getting a guitar setup to a podcasting setup, that's not to say that if you're, a high school kid like I was when I first started podcasting at amateur level, that you can't find something for like $12 that will do you well. And the one low end bare bones cost item that I will recommend are the Apple wired headphones that used to come with the phones, and you can buy them separately now. For some unknown reason, the microphone on those things, like,
it's awesome.
2 tiers higher than they should be.
It's really good. There's like TikToks that I watch of like, a stitch of like a dude on the left side playing like a riff, and then someone's like, add lyrics to this, and then you have this person singing, and they're fucking wearing the earbuds, like holding the microphone out in front of them, and it's like they sound like they're in a fucking studio and they're on their Apple headphones. So
it's nuts.
That's how far the technology has come, where it's way more than adequate that you could do this. I mean, I have like a $20 lapel mic that I had originally bought back when iPhones had the 3.5 millimeter plug, right? Because that's what it has. And I was just like, this is going to be my game changer. Like if I want to interview someone on the spot, and like it sounded great. And it was fucking like $12. It's a little like, Behringer, whatever lapel thing. I got it on clearance or something like that. And I'll say this. Don't get turned off by brand names. Don't get turned off by not having the right equipment. Don't let that prevent you from recording. Because, like I said, I've listened to top tier podcasts that are normally recorded in a studio and with high-end microphones and with high-end boards, and have a team, mixing them down and all that shit. And then they're on the road and they have to do like, hey, we're recording in our tour bus or something like that. And it's like, all right, I can look past the production because it doesn't matter at that point. It's good. It's adequate. It's good enough. So that's just one of the roadblocks I hear a lot from people is like, oh, I don't have the right equipment, so I have to save. It's like, nah, fuck that, man. Just use your headphones.
These came with my iPhone. Will these work? Sure.
Yeah, absolutely will. Absolutely will. So that's really cool. Now, when we get to the level of buying, spending a couple $100 on gear, and I think this is an important part of entertainment and crowdsourced funding that is very popular in the podcast space, and that's Patreon. And I think that it's worth talking about here because I think for both of our shows, Patreon has been the grand equalizer that allows us to do what we do and not just do what we do, but do it in a very, very cool way that allows us to do cool shit, like have cool meetups or have contests or whatever it may be. So
or tournaments.
Yeah, we did a
payouts
$100
$100
TCGO tournament this past month in our Discord, and it's like, and we did a $50 Sylph Arena tournament. So it's like we gave out $150. That comes directly from our Patreon. We give it right back, and that's fucking amazing that we have fans that are that invested in us, that they're willing to give us the fucking money that they're busting their ass for. Like, I don't take that for granted at all. So how does Patreon fit into the GoCast mix, and how important is that platform to what you do, and what does having that cushion of financial stuffs afford you to do from a creative perspective?
Yeah, we are also very blessed, like you said, to have a support community on Patreon. Like, we do pretty well. We're very excited for the amount of patrons we have, but moreover, what Patreon is largely used for us is kind of like the check or the gateway that you pass through in order to get to our patron Discord. Although there are plenty of people who give on Patreon that don't use Discord that are very happy to just give $1 a month. And to those silent soldiers, we say an extra special thank you.
Yeah, for real.
Because you don't want anything in return. That's really great. But I really think that, you know, having that sort of income, while it wasn't necessary, the entire show breaks even, and we have extra money coming in as well. And once you've hit that break even point, it feels real for the first time.
Yes.
Yeah, it's really, really great. But having the extra money has allowed us to replace broken equipment like this soundboard. I would have been out, you know, a lot of money for that. We've bought, during the pandemic, we sent gift cards to some people that were like in frontline situations and things like that. Had to navigate that because some professions don't allow them to legally take compensation. But that was something fun that we did that came from patron money. We've done tournament prizes in the past, not as consistent as y'all. I have some fun things planned for the meetup that nobody knows about that we'll be using some of that money. You know, the list goes on. It basically allows the show to be more than it is. It's just sort of like a manifestation of faith in your show, you know? So, I mean, it's never really been about money. Would I love to retire from my full-time job and do this 100% of the time? Yes. 1,000,000 times. Yes. If I could do that, if we had enough income, but that's not really the goal that I'm actively striving towards. It's just sort of an organic sort of thing.
Yeah, I could tell any new podcaster, if you're doing it for the money, you're in the wrong fucking medium.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. If they're like, I'm going to try to make money from like Patreon or something. And if I say, okay, what's your 5 and 10 year plan? If they say 5 and 10 years, like, you don't know what you're signing up for. No way.
Yeah. And we talked about it on your show last week. It is cool because we have a lot of crossover patrons. So it's always cool to like hear like people writing into your show, and it's like, oh shit, they wrote into our show 2 weeks ago. It's like, that's super cool. I love that. That's what makes our community so fucking strong.
The best, I think, is when somebody hops into one of the other servers and they've been a member of another one, and then it's like that Spider-Man meme when they hop in. Everybody's like, "Hey, what's going on? Hey, what's going on, dude? I see you everywhere. How you doing today?"
Exactly. It's like, I know you. It's like, oh shit. And like sometimes people have like different nicknames and different Discords, and it's like, yeah, I love that shit. It's
cool stuff.
I love that shit so much. So as we wind down here, I think something else worth mentioning that I'm exceptionally proud of, and I know you are as well, is that we both got hooked up with Niantic. And I think that that's worth noting because we're small little podcasters compared to some of these very large video creators that are in, you know, the million follower, million subscriber range, and we get to mix it up. And that's really cool as a podcaster, but that has allowed us to do some really cool shit that, you know, gives us the edge when it comes to creating content, because we get news early. We can, you know, play with embargo dates where we can record and release day and date and do these really cool things. And I just want to say to you, thank you, that you've been such an incredibly strong and just a fantastic ambassador for podcasting within that Niantic group, because I think it's very important that the podcast community kind of sticks together and holds it together, because it's still very niche. And even though podcasting is probably only, 10, 15 years old in the grand scheme of things, with having some kind of national scale level stuff, it's still small. It's still, it's still a very small audience, and podcasts can see success with small, consistent audiences that can't be like, you can't have a small audience as a YouTuber and say, oh, I feel like I'm being successful.
Right.
Where with a podcast, you're like, oh shit, I've got 25 downloads every fucking episode. This is amazing. And it works in our space. So when we get to mix it up with, the big dogs, or mix it up with people that have huge reach and huge influence, it's really fucking cool. So I just wanted to shout that out because, it's super effective. Steve and is in the Niantic group as well, which is phenomenal to have another podcast person in there. And obviously he does all the cool streaming shit as well, but it's always nice to have podcast voices in there. And it was worth talking about because, when you think back to like GoFest 2019, that was your episode 1. Like, you paid your way, you got there yourself, you know what I mean? You bought your ticket just like fucking everybody else. And it's like, now we're in a position where it's like, yeah, I could focus on creativity because I know that I'm going to be able to do this $1 special research without paying for the $1 special research.
Yeah. Not having to sweat about getting event tickets is like one of the biggest benefits for sure. Not having to stress about it, because I remember especially the first few Go Fests. I went to the first one, and all I went to Pokemon Go Fest 2017 or 2018 or whatever it was, and all I got was sun poisoning on my T-shirt, right? But I remember that being like waking up and trying to get concert tickets or midnight release movie tickets. They were sold out in a flash. And now that's not necessarily the case because there is, virtual events, it's global, unlimited numbers in that case. But for these in-person events, it really is important because Pokemon Go is so entrenched in that in-person experience. Like we need to be there.
Yeah.
To do
If you're not there,
right?
What are you going to talk about?
Right.
Oh, everybody was there, and I was watching people's videos, and I watched this video, and I watched that video.
Like, you can play from home, but did you fall in the big pit of mud in Grant Park that one year? No, you didn't.
I did like a one of those, like, put your foot down and it slides forward like 6 feet, like whoa, like my foot just went. God,
that banana peel sound.
That was exactly it. All right. We're going a little long in the tooth, so I have one final question for you, which is a doozy.
Yeah.
What happens if Pokemon Go goes away? Do you continue to podcast about the Pokemon franchise? Do you move on from Pokemon Go and podcast about something else? But let's just say we get an announcement this week that Pokemon Go is sunsetting and will be gone from our lives. The servers will be shut down. What does that mean for GoCast, and what does that mean for you as a podcaster?
I've got 2 contingency plans, actually.
Nice.
The first one is, because Kyle and I have already talked about this, because we both love video games in general. We play a lot of them together because he, closes and opens. He closes his store that he works at, and he doesn't work until late. And I'm a night owl, so we hang out at night and play video games like Monster Hunter and stuff. So we've talked about, transitioning pretty similarly that what the twins from PGR have done, actually, funny enough. To more of like a generic sort of, it would be video games still focused, but we'd probably talk on nerd culture and things like that. And sort of, since we have the base, break the chains and be able to talk about whatever we want, which is great. And the other one is, I love true crime, and I'm obsessed with religion in specific, cults, those sorts of things. And so I've always wanted to start a podcast that talks about cults. And call it something fun like Under the Hood or something like that,
Yes, dude.
Yeah, like
cool.
I would love to do that, but that sort of show, I've attempted it a couple of times. It takes a lot of research, so you got to have extra time for it.
Oh man, I'm compelled, and it's like I don't watch TV, right? Like I don't have time for TV. My girlfriend though, she loves that shit. True crime, murders, documentaries, drugs, serial killers, cults, all that shit. So I'm like been getting it, from the side eye when, I'm like plugging fucking cables in, and it's like the TV is about, some mobster or something like that, or some conspiracy theory. And it's like, I go, you really need to listen to podcasts. I used to listen to Serial. That was, I think every podcaster has kind of listened to that show at one point or another.
Either that or Radiolab.
Radiolab was really strong too. But it's very interesting that you have two plans. And I think that's a testament to your professionalism and, your willingness to be flexible with your creativity. And I think that that's something that everyone should have, is an exit plan. So that's really fucking cool.
Jeez, now I don't feel as
Adam, you host
creative.
You host 3
I'm
shows.
Like, you're good. No, I know. Okay, Pokemon Go dies. Oh, we're going to TCG or the anime. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's cool when you have other shows that you don't have all of your eggs in one basket. So that's kind of cool. But don't give me too much credit, Ken, because honestly, the answer is if I didn't have a backup plan, like if Pokemon Go goes away, I'm going to be destroyed as a human being, and I need the next thing to think about. Otherwise, I'll just be gone. Like,
Perido's
have
coming
to sit
out.
down in the dark for like 3 months.
We're starting a Perido podcast. First guest, John Hankey.
There we go.
Oh shit,
John, what happened?
Well, we knew Pokemon wouldn't last forever. So we're doing our own thing, which we can develop and just create it and evolve it throughout the whole thing. It'll be like a baby Charmander, and we'll gradually evolve, and then we can have a Mega Charizard, and then we can go in this direction and call it X, and this direction and call it Y.
Oh my! Just like pitches Pokemon again.
Yeah, exactly.
And then it can Dynamax. So, I mean, like, there's all these things.
Get this: we're gonna throw little balls at them.
They're gonna be centered around.
They're
elements.
Gonna be cubes.
Oh shit!
We're gonna call this one the Tesseract.
Exactly.
It'd be so funny if he did that, because like all the jokes are that people that work at Niantic don't care about Pokemon or don't know Pokemon at all, which couldn't be further from the truth from our experience.
True that.
Yes.
So it'd be so funny if he came out like, oh yeah, Pokemon Go died. Anyway, I was watching television with my daughter the other day, and I saw this show called Pokemon, and I thought that'd be a good game.
Oh shit! Well, Chris, dude, as we wrap up, before you kill Adam, let's I'm
already dead.
Let's wrap it up.
On the
Well, look, let me really draw it back. I appreciate you coming on the show. I appreciate you pulling back the curtain personally, because I think that's super important. And I hope this is an opportunity for both of our audiences to kind of learn a little bit more about us and how we tick and how we think. It's exceptionally therapeutic as a creator to be able to blend speaking freely about something with a creative product. So I think that was really cool. And I just want to give you kudos, man, for being bold enough and brave enough to fucking weather through that, because it ain't easy. And all 3 of us have fucking kind of been through the ringer, and we're all better because of it, and we're stronger together. And that's something that, the podcast community has done a really good job of, is, looking out for each other, supporting each other, taking care of each other, and realizing like everyone can fucking eat, right? There's enough ears for all of us to live in the sandbox and play. And it's great to have you on, man. I really appreciate you coming on. This was phenomenal podcasting. I really, really enjoyed it.
Yeah, I'd like to just echo that for both of you as well. It's been exceptionally helpful and life-saving in some other ways. I'm not trying to be dramatic. I really mean it. To have been able to talk to the 2 of you while I was going through all that stuff too, man. Ken, you and I were texting quite a bit every once in a while, just checking in. And it was it was a make or break situation, and the 2 of you definitely made it for me in that way, because I needed other people outside of the situation that I could talk to,
Well, if you need something, we got your back.
Yeah, man. Always.
Yeah, likewise. Let's not take so long between guest spots on each other's shows.
Yeah,
It's been really great.
Yeah, definitely. But why don't you take a moment, butt plug your stuff, let us know where we can. I always say butt plug your stuff. Find out. Let everybody know where they can find you. Where is your show released? Do you have a website? All that good stuff. And of course, everywhere that you can find GoCast will be linked in the description or video.
Yeah, plug that Instagram.
Yeah, all that shit. Yeah.
Ah, man. Hey, you know what? There's at least those like old Mashup Monday things I put up on Instagram. Those are pretty cool.
Yeah, those are really cool.
I won't even
accept that mime giraffe rig thing. That was scary.
No, that thing was awesome, dude.
That was like, I think that was like 3 years ago. I still remember that shit.
All right. Well, anyway, GoCast Podcast. You can pretty much just type that in, verbatim into just about any search engine, and they'll pull like our show up, no problem. Or as Ken was saying, Pokemon Go Podcast. Apparently, I'm not quite sure how blessed we got with that, but that's awesome. But GoCastPodcast.com is the name of the website. You can go there for all details, contact information, all that sort of fun stuff. We have a voicemail line, and we play those voicemails back on the show and interact with them as we do with emails. It's a lot of fun. But yeah, GoCast Podcast, just about anywhere. So
awesome. Well, once again, Chris, thank you so much for coming on the show. We'll definitely get Kyle on next time as well, as long as he grows that afro back.
He's not allowed on until he's gone through a divorce or something,
It's like, Kyle, can you please have a traumatic moment in your life so we have something to talk about?
He's like, I stubbed my toe today. Perfect. We're booking you. Let's go. Let's go.
Yep.
Oh, that's so awesome. But to everyone else, you can find everything about Lured Up and all of our stuff at PokemonProfessor.com. You can connect with us on all our socials. We also have email and phone number and all that good stuff. Just check out PokemonProfessor.com for links to all that. And everywhere that you can find GoCast will be linked in the description. Give them a follow. Subscribe on every fucking platform. If you listen to the show on Apple Podcasts, still subscribe on fucking Spotify. Still subscribe on iHeartRadio and all that shit. It helps. And
it does.
Leave reviews. That's another important thing that from a podcast perspective is...
helps the podcast be viewable.
Oh my God. Like, that is the number one currency of... podcast vitality is reviews. So please check out GoCast on all their platforms, Spotify, Apple Podcasts. Leave them a 5-star review. It's a fucking phenomenal show that covers the game phenomenally and super honestly. And I'm telling you, man.
Yeah, especially their last show. I mean, it was so good.
It was a really good
they had us on. I mean,
well, no, but honestly, I listened. I would say GoCast is probably the number one podcast that I listen to consistently across all my podcasters. I have a bunch of go-to shows, and absolutely GoCast is one of them in that rotation. So it's your show is very important to me personally, for sure.
My heart, man, dude. There's so much love right now
Hell
on this call.
Hell
My word, thank you.
All
so
right.
GoCast is my Pokemon Go podcast
that
I listen to. I mean, sometimes I listen to ours just for giggles there, because I don't know, I just find us funny, and I like listening to it and laughing with myself over again.
Yeah,
but
likewise, I listen to you guys, and I listen to ISE. Pretty consistently.
Yep.
And that's pretty much it. That's all I got time for nowadays, So
yeah, the only TCG
the good
podcast
stuff.
I listen to is Trashalange.
Oh, shout to Trash. Yo, I'll give a shout out real quick. Roundtable Chat's Hot, new Pokemon Go podcast in the scene. Got to give them a shout out because it's always good to hear.
Are they a regional variant?
Yes. All right, everyone.
Available in one store.
Thank you so much for listening this long. We really do appreciate it. Make sure you check out GoCast on all the platforms. Check out PokemonProfessor.com and keep training trainers. Thanks so much, and we'll see everybody next week. Later.
Adios.
Bye. Thanks again.